Yeah, I know. I know. I know I said that the Comic-Con Wales video was going to be the next video, but I just had this terrific idea for a new mini-series that we could do to bridge the gap. So would that be okay? So I've got to go. We'll put a pin in that. The people are waiting. The people are waiting. Okay. Bye. Talk to you later. Bye. Oh, hello everyone. My name is Jack, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And once again, you are watching The Doctor's Diary. So, have you ever thought about if we were to put, say, two different incarnations of the Doctor into a boxing ring, who would come out on top? Have you ever wondered that? Because I know I have. And in this series, this is going to be a new mini-series where I'm going to talk about two different incarnations of the Doctor, and we're going to put them against each other, and we're going to see who will win. Who is the better Doctor? And how are we going to judge these Doctors? Well, I have come up with three different categories in order to judge the Doctors. The first category is going to be based on their character arc through the series. How they are at the start and how they are at the end. The second category that we're going to talk about is based on the Doctor's promise that we saw revealed within Time of the Doctor, the Day of the Doctor. How well does that incarnation keep that promise that they made? And the third category is their relationships with other characters, but most importantly, their relationship with their companions. Okay, who are these two Doctors that we're going to be talking about today? Well, if you've already seen the thumbnail, you would know that the two incarnations that we're going to be looking at in today's video is the 10th Doctor, played by David Tennant, and the 14th Doctor, also played by David Tennant. This is going to be an interesting one. So let's see how they are in round one, which is character arc. First, the 10th Doctor's character arc. Well, obviously, after Rose travelled with the 9th Doctor and regenerated, they finally got a closer bond. Rose sort of started to fall in love with the Doctor a little bit by the end. And so I think that personally, and I read this great article, and I'll put a link in the description below referencing them because I thought it was a really good theory, that the 9th Doctor regenerated in order to give Rose feel a bit closer to Rose, so sort of influence the regeneration. So the 10th Doctor looking younger and being almost a bit more romantic towards Rose was sort of as a result of almost falling for Rose. So then the arc of series 2, really, that the 10th Doctor goes through is sort of one sort of out of love, trying to make Rose sort of love him, really, because they are quite heavy in that at times. Like there's lots of scenes with the Doctor, they're kissing the companions or moaning over the companions or crying over Rose. You know, it sort of feels more like a partner relationship in terms of boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, so to speak, rather than you're an alien from outer space and I'm a human and you're going to show me the stars, which I wasn't overly keen on, to be honest. And then when he loses Rose at the end of series 2, he sort of goes back into his shell and shuts off everyone else. Because he's kind of mean to his next companion, Martha Jones. And the whole of the Runaway Bride Christmas special in Series 3 is an arc of moving on and getting over the loss of Rose, to be honest. And you can sort of see that in the way that he treats Martha at times. There's a scene in the Shakespeare Code where Martha and the Doctor are lying in a bed and they're working out how to defeat the Carrionites and what's going on with Shakespeare. And the Doctor's confused, doesn't really know what to do, so turns to Martha for advice. But Martha's new, so can't really provide that information right now. And he sort of just says, well, Rose would know what to do. And I think that's quite cruel of the Doctor to really do that, very un-Doctor-like. And it further reinstates my point of, I feel like the Doctor treated it as a relationship rather than a friendship. He sort of took it to that next level. But the Doctor does get over that by the end. Martha does snap him out of it. And then in series 4, it sort of comes together and you get like the perfect balance then. He's gotten over all that romantic stuff and he's sort of gone back to being fully just the Doctor and you're my friend. So with Donna, they have that nice joke in Partners in Crime, of I just want a mate, and Donna sort of misreads that and it's brilliant interaction. Donna and the 10th Doctor are perfect together. They have the perfect balance. They don't go too far into lovey-dovey stuff. And he's not cruel towards her. He truly cares, admires, and looks after Donna, and it's the perfect relationship. So at the end of series 4, when then he loses Donna, where he has to wipe her memory in order to save her life, he sort of reverts back to almost series 1. He goes back to almost like he has in his 9th incarnation, because then you have the arc of the Time Lord Victorious coming to its climax, which started in the classic series and then ended it up in the modern era. Where the Doctor sort of took time into his own hands and thought, I'm fed up of being told what to do all the time and fed up of losing people. I'm going to save people. I'm going to do it my way. And he sort of gets a bit corrupted. And then in the end of time, his last lines of I don't want to go, that kind of vain personality that he has, sort of takes over again. And it's sort of unfortunate, really. But I'd say like the character arc of the 10th Doctor overall is one... It's a bit of a complicated one, if I'm being perfectly honest. Like, he starts off just trying to become the Doctor again, but then sort of falls in love, and then it's sort of more like a soap opera, really, where he's just about getting over the person that he's lost. It's the 10th Doctor is a good Doctor, and I do love the 10th Doctor, but it's a very, very confused character arc, a very emotional character arc. And he is the hero, as Clara mentions in the Day of the Doctor special. But yeah, I'd say that overall is probably the character arc for the 10th Doctor. So yeah, now we're going to move on to the 14th Doctor, who is also played by David Tennant. The 14th Doctor, unlike the 10th Doctor, has a lot less material to work with. We've only got 3 specials. 4 if you want to count the short Children in Need special that happened, but we're just focusing on the 3 60th anniversary specials. So the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and the Giggle. And the 14th Doctor is both similar and vastly different to the 10th Doctor. I'd say the 14th Doctor does go on a very different trip. I'd say as a character, he's a lot more cynical. He's very self-reflective. He's definitely emotionally exhausted, especially after what's happened during his time as the 13th Doctor, played by Jodie Whittaker, where he found out that he might not be a Time Lord, he doesn't know where he comes from, he might be responsible for the Flux. His whole life has been turned upside down, and so he's traumatized from that. And then now all of a sudden he's got his old face back and he doesn't have a clue what's going on. So he's emotionally exhausted, he's very vulnerable. Unlike his previous incarnations, he sort of just says his emotions, he's very open about his emotions, but yet he's also very closed. And I think that's his character arc, is being able to open up to people around him in the right ways. So, like, for example, there's multiple times through the stories, like in the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, the Giggle, Donna Noble will have a conversation with the Doctor, asking him to open up, tell me what's going on, why do we never sit down and talk? And the Doctor just sort of shuts her off, because he knows that he can't discuss those things. It's too painful for him to discuss. And I think that's his character arc, that at the start he can't, he sort of brushes it off, because when we first see the Doctor at the start of the Star Beast, he's all smiling, happy, wandering around, just sort of enjoying himself. But I think that's almost like trying to push away his sadness, push it to the back of his mind, because then as soon as he meets Donna, it all comes flooding back, and then you get the emotional Doctor again. And you have stuff like in Wild Blue Yonder, where the doppelganger Donna confronts the Doctor and talks about the Flux. You see the Doctor truly break down, you see him scream, you see him get angry. Like in the previous story in Star Beast, he was angry and frustrated that he'd have to bring the Dr. Donna back. He knows that could end up killing Donna, and he didn't want to do that. So you sort of do have this very emotional Doctor who always criticises himself as well, and he loses his composure quite a lot. And it almost, it does cost him his life in the end. For example, in The Giggle, he lets his emotions take hold when the Toymaker taunts the Doctor about the deaths of his previous companions from the 11th, 12th and 13th Doctor's eras. He tells Donna about all the things that she's missed since the Doctor's been away, about the death of Amy Pond to the Weeping Angels, about the death of Clara to a bird, and to the death of Bill by the Cybermen. And then obviously we've got the Flux as well, which tore half the universe and destroyed it. And all these things, you can see they're eating the Doctor more and more inside until he just explodes and challenges the toy maker to a game, not really thinking about that he's on his domain and sort of he's got the upper hand. And that does lead to the downfall of the Doctor in the end, really, because then it's 1-1, the Doctor loses the game, and then it triggers the bi-regeneration then when he goes back to 2023. So, yeah, I would say that his emotional vulnerabilities are a bit... his sort of character arc, because he even gets told by his future self after the bi-regeneration that he needs to take a rest, he needs time to relax, he's running on fumes. And he does in the end. The final scenes of the 60th anniversary, we see the Doctor living with the Noble family, living with Donna, living with Rose, living with Sylvia, living with Sean. Mel as well's there for him, and he seems chilled and relaxed, and finally looks like he's going to retire and do all the things that the 10th Doctor should have done, really. So I think overall, in 3 short stories, the 14th Doctor does have a much better character arc, and it's paced out pretty well as well. I think, personally, to start it happy-go-lucky, to then be reminded of the torments of his past, but then to overcome them and get to the other side and show that he is willing to recover, I think that is true character growth, especially for that face in particular, even going back to the 10th Doctor. So I think, personally, I would say the 14th Doctor has a better character arc than the 10th Doctor, which is really weird to say, because to some degree they're the same guy. So I would say, personally, the 14th Doctor gets round 1. So it would be 1-0 to the 14th Doctor. And now it's time for round 2, which is the promise the Doctor made to himself. The promise is an interesting one. So the whole promise is to never be cruel, never be cowardly, to never give up, and to never give in. So for the 10th Doctor, let's focus on never be cruel first. Well, I would say for the majority of the 10th Doctor's run, I would say he's never really shown much signs of cruelty. That is until you get the stories such as The Runaway Bride, where he lets a massive flood of water pool in, killing all the Rachnos Empress's babies as the Rachnos Empress is screaming for mercy, screaming for her children. Donna's looking up at the Doctor, telling him to stop, and he's just deadpan stare, almost death stare at the Rachnos Empress, like, I don't care, your kids are going to die, this is your fault. That felt quite cruel. And then the Family of Blood and Human Nature 2-parter, in the second part, the Family of Blood, once the Doctor's regained his Time Lord consciousness and has defeated the Family of Blood, he proceeds to obviously punish each individual member of the Family of Blood. How does he do this? Well, he chains up Father of Mine in unbreakable chains made in the heart of a dwarf star, so he's bound for all eternity. He tricks the Mother of Mine into a dying star to be imprisoned for all eternity, watching her fall to, well, forever nothingness, really. Traps Daughter of Mine in a mirror and only goes to see her once a year. And then freezes Son of Mine in time and makes him into a scarecrow to stand into a field for all of eternity. I would say that's debatably cruel, some of those punishments. Considering all we knew of the Family of Blood really was that they were seeking the Doctor to gain immortality, really. But we've seen villains like the Master and the Daleks and the Cybermen do stuff equal to that or worse than that. But the Doctor's never given punishments like that, so I feel like they were almost... It's a bit extreme, really. Like, I get why he did it, but I don't know. It always niggles me a little bit, that one. But yeah, so that's a bit of a question mark. Then I would say, as for cowardly, I would say the 10th Doctor's not necessarily a coward. He's mostly quite heroic most of the time. But obviously, linking back to the Family of Blood again, it was quite cowardly because he was hiding away from the Family of Blood rather than trying to take them head on. He thought, no, I'm going to hide away from them. I don't know how long. I'm just going to wait for them to hopefully die out, and then I'll come back, So that's up for debate whether you want to see that as cowardly or just, it's just good planning. I could see arguments for both. It doesn't matter really. But that one again is a bit of a question mark, really. And it's funny how it's the same story as well. Then also in my notes, if we want to go back to the cruel point as well, Love and Monsters in series 2, the Absorbaloff obviously absorbs all Elton's friends from Linda, even his girlfriend Ursula, and you all know the scene I'm probably talking about, is the Doctor does bring Ursula back, but as a paving slab, and it's just her head. Yeah, I would say that's worse than death, really. Just having your head stuck onto a concrete paving slab. I think, no, that's debatably cruel as well. It's a bit up in the air, really, for the 10th Doctor. I would say he does never give up and never give in, though. So I would say overall, the Doctor in his 10th incarnation does actually stick to the promise that he keeps. He does never give up. He does never give in. He's debatably cowardly at times, but I think that's more from a vain perspective for the 10th Doctor. Not necessarily because he's scared. And cruel, I think cruel's about the only one that's a bit on the cards here with the 10th Doctor, but overall I think he's mostly not cruel. So I would say so far it's looking good for the 10th Doctor. Let's see how the 14th Doctor fares. Again, like I said before, the 14th Doctor has a lot less content to work with. But I feel like in terms of keeping the promise, I think that the 14th Doctor and the 10th Doctor are quite similar. I believe that in terms of being cruel, the 14th Doctor, from what we've seen on screen anyway, hasn't really demonstrated much in terms of actual cruelty per se. I would say probably the closest that the Doctor in those stories has come to being cruel is probably, and this is, I mean, you could justify his actions here, is obviously in the giggle in the last stories. Obviously leaves that poor puppet man just hanging there when he's begging for his life, begging for him to free him or kill him. It's just, it's quite hard to watch, to be honest. And then it obviously turns into a puppet of the 10th Doctor, stroke 14th Doctor, and then he runs away. But the moment I'm more thinking of is obviously once he's beaten the Toymaker, his prize that he says is he wants to banish the Toymaker from existence forever. So make it so that he never exists. Remove his whole existence, his whole life, his whole being. I mean, some would say that the Toymaker deserves it. I'm kind of one of those people as well. But obviously, on the other hand, you would say obviously the Doctor would never really do something like that, or the Doctor shouldn't really do something like that. The Doctor should imprison them maybe, but to banish them from existence forever just doesn't seem to sit fully right. But either argument is justified to a degree, so there's that. And then in terms of being cowardly, I would say obviously the main aspect of the 14th Doctor's version of being cowardly is to himself, his own emotions. I'd say he's emotionally cowardly. He doesn't want to open up to people. He's scared to open up to people. He's scared to tell people what he's been through. He's scared to relive those memories himself. So I'd say that he himself is his own worst enemy, actually, through the whole of the 3 stories. Not Beep the Meep, not the doppelganger people from Wild Blue Yonder, not even the Toymaker. I would say the Doctor is his own worst enemy in those 3 specials. And I'd say that's his cowardly aspect. Obviously, he does run away quite a lot, especially in the Toymaker story, but that's more so he knows the threat of the Toymaker. So I would say that he's not necessarily cowardly, but I would say that to some degree he is emotionally struggling to cope and running away from his emotions and being able to express himself. He's scared of talking to people, really. He definitely never gives up and never gives in. He does come close, but I think the fact that he never gives up is sort of his own downfall as well, which is why he challenges a Toymaker to a game as well. So I would say, yeah, the 14th Doctor probably also follows the promise pretty well as well. So I would say that both the 10th and the 14th Doctors get a point here. So both of them win this round. It's a draw, even. It's a draw. So that is 1 point now to the 10th Doctor and 2 points now to the 14th Doctor. I know I've done it the other way around this time, but yeah. So, yeah, 2-1. So how is the last round going to fare? And the last round is, how does the Doctor treat his relationships with his companions and other people? What are his relationships like? The final round. So this is the 10th Doctor, relationships with his companions and friends. Now the 10th Doctor's had lots of companions over his 3 seasons and season of specials. Obviously he has Rose, Mickey, Jackie, Martha, Donna, the rest of the noble family like Wilfred and Sylvia. He's obviously had other companions like Christina. He's also had people like Captain Jack follow over from the first season. He did meet River Song once. Obviously returning from the classic series companion Sarah Jane Smith and K9 as well. Which these are like the ones we're mainly going to be talking about. So in terms of his relationship with his companions, the 10th Doctor is usually pretty good with his relationship with his companions. I mean, obviously Rose, he took it a bit too far with Rose, where they practically fell in love with each other, which to me is still really strange and I wasn't a massive fan on, and I'm still not huge on it to this day, really, that RTD decided to go down that route. But at least his relationship was a good relationship. He was caring towards Rose, obviously. He always tried to put her first. He always looked out for her safety, worried about her. Never dismissed really any of her ideas. So all round had a good relationship with Rose. I'm going to skip over the next one. So Donna is the next one I'm going to talk about. He has a brilliant relationship with Donna. Both of the incarnations have decent relationships with Donna. I would say though, however, 10 I think actually has a slightly better relationship with Donna, which I'll explain why in a bit when we get to 14. But yeah, 10 and Donna are brilliant together. They bounce off each other so well, both comedically, emotionally. It's just fantastic to see them on screen together. The Doctor truly does care about Donna, and you can see the emotion when he has to wipe Donna's memory at the end. He's distraught. He carries Donna's body back to her home, obviously looking at Sylvia and Wilf, and begs for their help to bring her inside. That still eats me up whenever I watch that scene. So they have amazing chemistry together. It's brilliant. And it's a shame we only had 1 full season of those two together. Obviously, you've got Big Finish audios as well, but I mean on screen, so you can see the dynamic on screen would be brilliant. Then obviously you've got people like Captain Jack. The 10th Doctor's relationship with Captain Jack I think is not as good as the 9th Doctor's relationship, because I feel like the 10th Doctor sort of sees Jack as a threat in terms of a bit like how a partner would be if they bumped into their ex. You have the current partner and then the ex. It's sort of like, oh, well, I'm more handsome than you, or I'm more masculine than you. You sort of have that sort of relationship, I think, between the 10th and Jack, whereas 9 never sort of cared about that sort of thing, really. So they had a much better bond and they planned stuff out better together, just in my personal opinion. In terms of Sarah Jane and K9, the Doctor works really well with them. I think at the start he sort of dismissed Sarah a little bit, which was a shame. But he really does grow on Sarah, and you see that by the end of School Reunion, in Journey's End and The Stolen Earth, and even in the 10th Doctor's brief appearance in the Sarah Jane Adventures, in the story Wedding of Sarah Jane, you see how much he cares for Sarah, and it's beautiful to see. And the Doctor's always had a good relationship with K9. It's very hard for a Doctor to not have a good relationship with the robot dog. 10th Doctor has a great relationship with Mickey Smith as well. Obviously the 9th Doctor did like Mickey by the end, but obviously he wasn't totally fussed on Mickey. That's why he kept calling him Ricky. He didn't really truly care to learn his name, or he was just testing the boundaries a bit to see whether he was almost worthy of his name, Mickey. So it was, so I think 10 has a much better relationship with Mickey, which is really nice to see. They fist pump each other. It's great, and he loves to see Mickey. So I love it. He even invites Mickey to join the TARDIS crew, and I think that's lovely to see. So I'd say overall he has great relationships with most of his companions. If you noticed, I did skip over one, which sort of lets him down a little bit, and that's Martha Jones. See, now, even though the 10th Doctor and Martha season I love, the relationship's not good at all. It's really, it's almost toxic. And that's because the Doctor is still, like, pining over Rose. He's just lost Rose, the love of his life, as RTD is trying to write it more or less. And so he can't bear to think of himself with anyone else. And I'm sorry, but Doctor, there's been previous companions that you haven't done this for. I feel like the Fourth Doctor should have cried over Sarah leaving, because she went over 2 incarnations and travelled with you for a lot longer than Rose did. So, yeah, I just don't like the 10th Doctor's relationship with Martha. I think they have moments together which are great, but I just think it's few and far between. And so that really does bring it down, knowing that the 10th Doctor can be like that. But I would say probably overall the 10th Doctor's fairly strong with his relationships with his companions. He has a good relationship with Wilfred as well. I mean, he sacrifices his life for Wilfred in the end. That's how the 10th Doctor goes. So it's nice to see that he's noble like that and will go out of his way for people that he doesn't see very often. So I'd say overall the 10th Doctor's doing really well. So now we've just got to see, how does the 14th Doctor fare in compared to the 10th? Finally, we have the 14th Doctor's relationship with his companions. So let's see, will the 14th Doctor take the victory, or will the 10th Doctor be able to come back and take this to 2-2? Let's see. So the 14th Doctor, obviously again, I've said this time and time again, for the third and final time I'll say it, there's not a lot of content to work with the 14th Doctor. But to be fair, he does interact with a pretty decent amount of characters. You know, from obviously the remainder of the noble family, you've got Donna, you've got her daughter Rose, you've got her husband Sean Temple, you've then obviously got the brief appearance of Wilfred, you've still got Sylvia around, you've got the new unit members, you've got obviously Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, you've got Shirley Bingham, the new scientific advisor, you've got also then obviously got the return of Mel Bush from the classic series as well. So you've got a few characters to talk about with the 14th Doctor. I would say with the 14th Doctor, he does suffer a lot in this department, to be honest, because he's not willing to talk with anyone. He does sort of open up a little bit with Shirley at the start, where he does tell Shirley that why he's worried about his face returning, and that obviously he doesn't understand why it's returned, and obviously the problems with Donna in the past, and how he now doesn't realise or know who he is anymore. He's sort of in a bit of mental turmoil, so he sort of does partly confide in Shirley, because he knows he can't confide in Donna, because Donna doesn't know who he is, and if she does know who he is, then she'll die. And obviously, at the moment, doesn't want to interact much with the noble family. But when the Doctor does interact with the noble family, so back with Donna, Rose, Sylvia and Sean, they do have a decent relationship with each other. You can tell Sylvia is happy to see the Doctor, even though she's super concerned because of obviously Donna at the time. So she has her concerns, but you can tell that it's not quite hatred, it's more just out of fear. She does like the Doctor, and Sean's perfectly fine with the Doctor. Rose and the Doctor don't really talk much, so I'd probably say that their relationship, especially with the 14th Doctor, is almost non-existent until the giggle. But the Doctor does have, again, a brilliant relationship with Donna. I think the problem with 14 is that even though his relationship with Donna is strong like the 10th Doctor's, I think the one thing that does hold his relationship with Donna back from being fully great is the fact that obviously he's hiding stuff from her and refusing to open up to her, whereas the 10th Doctor sort of did a lot more. But obviously the Doctor's been through a lot since. But yeah, it's just kind of a shame, so they don't get to have the full same chemistry that they used to. So I would say it's almost like a diet version of the Doctor Donna. It's still great and fantastic, but it's not as strong. The Doctor and Kate, brilliant relationship together. 14 and Kate are great. Kate interacts really well with every incarnation of Doctor she meets. The 11th Doctor she worked well with, the 12th Doctor, the 13th, and now the 14th and the 15th Doctor as well. Kate's just brilliant. They have a great relationship, great bond. Same as the Brigadier did in the classic series with the classic Doctors. I'd say 14's relationship with Kate is brilliant. Really does care for Kate. And you can tell that. So it's brilliant. So I'd say highly strong relationship there. I would also say his relationship with Wilfred, even though it's very brief, the late great Bernard Cribbins, bless his soul. We miss you, Bernard. It's still great. It's short and sweet, but you can tell it really did make him feel whole again, because he stared at Wilfred and he was upset and sad that Donna was probing again about his past, but then saw Wilf and he says, now I feel better. He feels great. He loves seeing Wilf, even though Wilf was technically the one who killed off that face to begin with. So for him to still have that love and for Wilf to still be like that with the Doctor, it's brilliant. It's perfect. And I mean, also Sylvia, like we said, Sean, Mel is the surprise one. When I heard that Mel was coming back, I was over the moon, because I'm more of a classic Whovian than a new Whovian. So to have a classic series companion returning yet again after just having Tegan and Ace come back was amazing. And their relationship's not too bad. They don't interact an awful lot, but for what it's worth, they are really, really friendly and lovely with each other. When they're reflecting on their times about Sabalon Glitz and how Mel came back to Earth, I love that. You know, bless Sabalon Glitz. It's such a shame that we're not going to see him again on screen. But I thought that was such a lovely touch. So thank you for putting that in. And yeah, Mel and the Doctor are still really, really good together. I mean, obviously, we're going to get a lot more 15 with Mel. But for what it's worth, that scene at the end where they're all sat outside having dinner, I feel that shows that their relationship has grown a lot. You know, the Doctor's finally ready to open up. You know, he refers to Rose as his niece. I think he refers to Sean as his brother-in-law. It's very sweet. It's all very touching and sweet. Mad Auntie Mel as well. It is lovely to see. So he does have a really good relationship in the end. I just think it's a little bit tricky overall. So how would I score the relationships? I think actually it's so tough. I think it's only right, because they're so similar and because it's so close, I'm going to give the companion one to the 10th Doctor, which, giving this to the 10th Doctor means that the winner it's a draw. Yes, 2-2. Both the 14th Doctor and the 10th Doctor are equal. Who could have predicted that? So the winner of our first Doctor Who clash is both of them. Both the 10th and the 11th Doctor. They both knocked each other out. So, overall, I hope you did enjoy this video. This is going to become a new series on the channel. Please like and subscribe. And don't worry, the Comic Con Wales video is coming. I will be filming that very shortly. And I will make sure to update you all on that. I will also be doing an unboxing video in upcoming days as well. Cannot confirm just yet when it's going to be, but Doctor Who, the complete Series 1 on Blu-ray and Steelbook will be coming to me shortly. So I've got a couple of videos in the pipeline. I'll also be doing more tier lists, and there will definitely be another Doctor Who clash, but this time we're going to have a modern Doctor take on a classic Doctor. So until then, bye for now, and thank you for watching The Doctor's Diary. Bye!